Member for Hamilton East Stony Creek.
Thank you, Speaker. My questions to the Premier. 900,000 people depend on Ontario Works and ODSP to live. Since 1995, the price of a loaf of bread or a dozen eggs has more than doubled. Rent and hydro have gone through the roof. In that time, social assistance for a single person has gone up just $18. That's barely 2% in 21 years. Families can't make ends meet. Kids are going hungry. Your announcement today won't even dent the years of neglect. Why has this government not used its 13 years in power to substantially increase the efforts for the people and the money they need to survive?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I know that the minister responsible for poverty reduction will want to comment in the supplementary. But I want to just say to the member opposite that I completely support in principle the bill that he's brought forward. And Mr. Speaker, we have already taken action to put more money in the hands of people who are vulnerable in this province. And the fact is, the group that was most at risk, Mr. Speaker, the single people without children now receive $100 per month more than they did in 2012, and that's $1,200 a year more than they received, Mr. Speaker. We've increased $25 a month for single adults receiving Ontario Works, 1.5% for families receiving Ontario Works, and 1.5% for individuals with disabilities who receive ODSP. Mr. Speaker, on top of that, the Ontario Child Benefit, we're working on rent supplements. We understand that there are a myriad things that we need to do to support people who are living in poverty, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Premier, for the compliment. However, even with your increase, people are still $11,500 below the poverty level. This government is failing the most vulnerable people in Ontario. People expected more from the Premier and her government. This government simply does not understand the cost of living in our province. New Democrats believe the government should make policy based on evidence and research. We need hard evidence on the real cost of living to ensure that social assistance benefits meet their basic needs. In April, all three parties, I quote, voted to support the establishment of a Social Assistance Research Commission, which we appreciate. But we don't want it to die at committee. We want it to go through committee, be called to committee, go for third reading, and be law in this province. Will the Premier and her caucus support the Social Assistance Research Commission again, as they did unanimously 5 months ago, this afternoon, and ensure that the committee called this bill?
Thank you. Thank you. Premier.
Minister responsible for poverty reduction.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm delighted to respond to the question from the member opposite. And I wish I had more time to go over an exceptionally lengthy list of all the positive accomplishments that this government has accomplished in the past 3 years. I just want to touch on a couple. The Income Security Reform Working Group is developing that roadmap that focuses on needs and prioritizes actions for the most meaningful impact. Mr. Speaker, I just want to touch on a couple of things that are happening. For example, we've removed the provincial clawback on child support payments to families receiving social assistance, increasing the annual income of almost 19,000 families by an average of $282 per month. That's $3,300 annually. Most of these are single-income families, Mr. Speaker. This government is dedicated to working with the most vulnerable members of our society, Mr. Speaker, and making sure they reach their potential.